Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com with another episode of the Steelers preview. That's right, we're back. We're better than ever. OTAs week 2 just wrapped up, and we're going to talk about that. Zach Gentry is the Steelers preview focus player of the week in terms of the 2019 NFL draft class. But before we get to that, let's go who is with me. It's all three of us, the dynamic duo, Bryan, Anthony, Davis. How are you doing this evening?
You know what, Jeff? We should start calling ourselves the Tremendous Trio because I don't want to leave you out of this whole thing, but I'm doing phenomenal.
So I'm okay with being left out. That's it.
Guilt by association, bro.
Dave Schofield, what's going on?
I'm exhausted, man. I need a vacation from my vacation. I just got back in town, and I'm like, I need some rest after my time of supposed rest.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Wah. All right, so before we get started with the actual, the news and OTAs and all that stuff, Dave is going to be talking about the winner of the Juju Smith-Schuster jersey. That was a contest that wrapped up last night, Wednesday at 10 p.m. Dave, go ahead. Take it away.
All right. Our winning tweet, the one with the most likes, was a video. It was really simple. It did not take much to win this jersey. Someone made a video taking a drink of water out of a Steelers cup and then held it up to show that it said Antonio Brown's tears. So that was our winning video. That was Juju's celebration. It was called Shade, and it was by Jake Mello. So, Jake, I will be getting a hold of you and making sure we get you that Juju jersey.
Congratulations. It's pretty cool. If you think about the giveaways we've done so far, it's just really cool to be able to give stuff like that away. And big shout out to the winner there, Jake Mello. Is that what you said? Is that his Twitter handle? I'm assuming.
Yes, that's his Twitter name, Jake Mello.
Very good. So there you have it. That's another giveaway in the books. We have another one planned. It's gonna be involving writing though. It's gonna be in part of the BehindTheSteelCurtain.com fan post section. If you're a member of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, and that means you have a username and things of that nature, a lot of people don't even know you can actually write articles for the site. It just doesn't show up on the main page. Those are for the writers that I actually employ. And so you can do fan posts, and a lot of times I can promote the fan post to the front page and get you exposure. We're going to be doing like a writing contest. That'll be coming up in the dog days of summer, so it'll be after OTAs are done, that time period between OTAs and training camp. So keep a lookout for that. We'll talk about that as it comes up. But here we go. Organized team activities. Phase 3 continues. Week 2 is done. There's only 1 week left. I believe they have, I'm sorry, was it 1 week or 2 weeks, Dave?
Total.
Is it 3 weeks total?
It's 3 weeks OTAs and then mandatory minicamp.
Right. So the OTAs, they have 1 more week. I think there's 4 sessions next week. One of those is typically a Dave and Buster session. But we're going to do what we did last week, and that's where we just go around and say, what were your takeaways from week 2? If anything, Bryan, we'll start with you. What did you take away from OTAs week 2 for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Even more than I did last week, it's just team harmony. This team is going out of their way to show how much they get along with each other. And not just that, but what they're really trying to establish is that us against the world mentality. And believe you me, they're going to ride it the whole way. You heard it in the comments this week. I felt like Vance McDonald alluded to it. Marquise Pouncey alluded to it. And the other thing about it that kind of coincides with this is the fact that Marquise Pouncey is basically saying, look, I'm not discussing any criticism of Ben Roethlisberger, but I noticed nobody's called me first like you should. And that was a throwback to his quote a couple months ago that said, if you have anything bad to say about the team, you better get through me first. So Marquise Pouncey has anointed himself as the enforcer of the team. And that makes him a big team leader in my eyes. And you can see how they rally around him.
Yeah. Pouncey's he's a good enforcer to have on your side. Him and DeCastro, those are guys I want on my side if we're going into a brawl. We'll just put it that way. Dave, what about you? Week 2 of OTAs is a wrap. What were your thoughts on the week that was?
No news is good news. because there's more bad things that can happen in OTAs than good things. When you hear there's breaking news about Steelers OTAs, it's going to be for a bad reason, that someone did something, and we don't want that. I think the last report was Sean Davis might not be fully participating because of some sort of injury, but nothing that sounds major. That's all I want from OTAs and minicamp, is to come out injury free.
Yeah, I'm going to go a different way and say how crazy it is to me that 6th-round draft pick Sutton Smith seems to be doing everything. I think he's doing everything except for kicking field goals. He's doing fullback drills. He took running back reps today, and he's working as a linebacker and an outside linebacker. I guess the more you can do, right, to make the team is the best case possible. Brian, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think he even operated the food truck for lunch. I mean, this guy, I mean, he wants to make it, man. He's hungry, and he's going to do whatever it takes. Love it.
Yeah, and I just am impressed. I mean, this is a guy that everyone has said is a true team player. He's willing to do whatever it takes, and that's truly on display right now. Another thing that I took away was, this is news, and it happened, I think it was Wednesday morning was when we published this. The Steelers pushed Chris Boswell's signing bonus back till after the preseason, essentially saying, we're not going to give you that money until we see that you've gotten out of this funk. And if he would have said, look, no, I want my money, they were going to release him straight out. This is all per Jerry Dulac, which in my opinion is a very reliable source from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
Yeah.
Dave, when you heard that news, what were your thoughts on that?
I thought that came out in March whenever he didn't get the bonus. So I didn't think that was news. I was thinking that was something that already had, because he was due the bonus in March and he didn't get it. But I didn't know if that was ever confirmed exactly how that played out. That might have been what it was. But yeah, I seem to remember that he didn't get the bonus. There was news behind it, but there wasn't a confirmed story until just now.
Well, there was no timeline of when he was going to get it. Now they've set it for the end of the preseason.
Yes.
So now if they were to essentially cut him, they would save themselves $2 million, I believe was the number I saw. I'm not sure. Don't take that as gospel. But it would be less of a hit if they decide to cut him. Brian, what are your thoughts on that? And are we reading between the lines here, or are we just letting it go?
It's a smart move because they owe him 4.6 before that bonus. So they will already be hit with 4.6 million if they have to cut him. This is a guy that's saying all the right things. I saw an interview with him where he looked very solemn and somber, but he was saying, hey, look, I'm not worried about last year. I'm not thinking about last year. I'm just worried about my next kick. So he's going with that. He says, look, I'm not changing anything, but with a kicker, and Jeff, you're a golfer, and just the difference between an inch in your stance, on putts, on everything. So it's the same way with a kicker. It's just, I would think that he has been doing everything he can in the last 6 months to shore up his stance, to shore up his kicking motion, and to be injury free. That was another thing. They asked him about the injuries. He's like, look, I'm not blaming it. I'm not talking about any injuries whatsoever. I'm not blaming it on that. I'm just here to get back to work. So as far as covering themselves with that signing bonus, that's a smart move, because if you look at Matthew Wright, he has some ability out of Central Florida. So he's a guy that could come in and compete. And if he just blows the doors off of the preseason, they have a decision to make.
Well, the thing is to me, you can tell a lot about an interview when you can tell a lot about the way that they answer questions. For instance, you listen to Vance McDonald when they interview him. He's upbeat. He's very well spoken. I saw Chris Boswell in 2017, and he was jovial with the media. He was laughing, joking. Things went south really quick in 2018. And then this year, boy, he just seems kind of downtrodden to me. It just seems like he's just kind of, I don't know. It seems like he's searching. He's searching for an answer. And if we're going to compare it to golf, there are times in every golfer's life where they're seriously searching for their swing. But if I'm Matthew Wright, I guess that's his name, the undrafted kid from Central Florida, he's playing with house money right now. He's going up against a guy that is mentally fragile, coming off his worst season, and maybe one of the worst seasons as a kicker in Steelers history in at least the last 20 years. And my goodness, all he's had to go out and do is show he can kick the ball into the end zone on kickoffs and be pretty reliable from 45 yards in. And he very well might have a job because, heck, Chris Boswell couldn't even make point afters this year. So I think we went over this last week. Bryan or Dave, do you still believe that Chris Boswell is not on the team in 2019? Has that changed at all for you?
I don't think it's a guarantee. I think that if he doesn't get the job done, that they will let him go. I know Bryan thinks that they're just going to do what they do because they paid him. He's going to be the kicker. I don't know. I don't know that they will. I'm hoping that he is. I really am. I also found it interesting that Wright's agent said that he specifically picked the Steelers to sign with because they felt that that was a good opportunity for him to get a job. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to seeing. I want to see someone take the job, not somebody lose it. That's what I want to see.
Okay. What about you, Bryan? Is Boswell on the team this year?
You know what? Dave's exactly right. I said that, and that seemed to be the mentality. But after this news, and you're correct, Jeff, as well. I mean, he does look downtrodden. I mentioned that he was somber in the interview, and when you compare that to Vance McDonald, yeah, he's going to win the job outright. And he's going to prove that he can do it. And I'm just afraid that something else you said about just if it's a mental issue and if he is downtrodden, that's a hard thing to overcome. So he's got a big summer ahead of him. And is he going to be on the team? If I said right now, I'm still going to say yes. I think he's going to win the job. But I am less optimistic about it than I was last week.
And Sean Swisham was seen at OTA practice today. He was helping or talking with Chris Boswell. Not sure if he was working with him like he did last year. If you do recall, though, last year when Swisham did come in and work with him, there was a little bit of an improvement in Boswell's game. I'm not going to say drastic. I'm not saying he's the kicker whisperer or anything like that, but it was a slight improvement. Now, the other news is that Justin Lane, the third-round draft pick, the final draft pick of the 9 drafted players, signed his contract, his rookie 4-year deal today. They're all locked up. Boom, finally done. But there's one more player that is not under contract, but is still showing up. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on this guy. It's Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton was given a tender. He's pulling an Alejandro Villanueva. Rewind back to last year this time. Villanueva is a starting left tackle, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I apologize if I get my years mixed up. He was given his tender. He was grossly underpaid for a starting left tackle in the NFL, yet he still showed up. He didn't miss. He was there working. He didn't miss a workout. And what did they do the first day when they reported training camp? Bam, he got his new deal. Guys, my question for you is, does Mike Hilton get a new deal, or are the Steelers going to really try to play their hand wisely and make him play under the tender that they've offered him? And we'll start with Dave.
I'm not as sure as I was with Villanueva that he's going to be given a contract. If he is, I think it's smart playing it out, saying I'm not going to sign it so we can keep negotiating, but I'm going to keep coming. Both sides are doing the right thing, but it seemed like at the end of last year, the Steelers weren't overly sold on Hilton when I thought he was still one of their best defensive backs. So there might be something there on their end that they might not want to dish out what the slot corners are now going for. I mean, they're starting to really get some decent sized salaries at that position. So I'm going to say maybe he has to play this one out with just the tender, and then he'd be a free agent next year.
And Bryan, what do you think?
Mike Hilton might be Motel 6 at this point. This is very dangerous right now. I would caution against this. I would probably sign that tender to get back in, because there are some players that they're bringing in, um, undrafted free agents. They just brought one in from the AAF named Cameron Kelly, who had 3 picks in 1 game. He also started the season as a receiver. He has good hands. He's 6'2". He played very well in the AAF. They're bringing this guy in, and don't forget, Joe Hayden's there. Steven Nelson's there. You have Justin Lane as a rookie. There's still guys named Cameron Sutton and Bryan Allen who might be moved to safety, but there's a lot of guys pushing for that job, and that stable of defensive backs is a lot better than it has been. I mean, this is a team that had no problem saying see ya to Cody Sensabaugh, who was the starter at the end of last season. This is how much they've improved. I think guys like Cameron Kelly could really make life interesting for a guy like Hilton. So I think he's on dangerous ground here.
Yeah, and like for instance, in our live chat right now, Reed Overand says that the Steelers don't have any money for a contract right now unless they restructure. If there's one thing I've learned since really paying close attention to this type of stuff, is that the Steelers can manipulate money with the best of them. It would take one restructure. Omar Khan is an absolute genius. He's a wizard with this type of stuff. I know that next year, even though Antonio Brown's money comes off the books, they have a lot of free agents. I have no doubt in my mind that they will be able to sign the people that they want to sign, give them contracts that are all the right numbers, yet are still team friendly. If you look at the contracts given to guys like Dante Moncrief and Mark Barron, it's 2-3 year deals. But in reality, like Dante Moncrief's deal is basically a 1-year contract if they want. If they want to cut him after a year, they can, and they really don't have much dead money. They know what they're doing in that regard. So if they want to sign Mike Hilton, it would take just a few moves, wouldn't be breaking stuff, and then all of a sudden, boom, they have the money to give him. Brian, what do you think?
Hey, Jeff, just one mention about the genius of Omar Khan. I think this guy is one of the unheralded heroes of the Steelers. I love this guy so much that I'm trying to get him to come to my house and work with budget with my wife and maybe do our taxes next year, because, I mean, he could probably teach her a few things about saving money and moving stuff around. So I love Omar Khan.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a reason why he was, at one point, he was interviewed for some higher ranking jobs in other organizations, and he decided to stay with the Steelers. But still, okay, there's really the news. No news is good news, like Dave said. There were some news, but not huge. Let's get into the Stat Geek. Dave, what do you have for us tonight?
Okay, I'm going to do kind of like last week, where less is more. We're going to do we're going to do the over under again, but we're only going to do a couple because I really wanted to dive into where the numbers came from. So it was interesting because this was one that Jeff brought up in a different show. It was before last week's show. Might have been your burning question the week before, or not this past week, but the week before, where you were talking about the number of undrafted free agents that of making the team.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm going to give you guys. I thought I was going to give you one number, and then after I did my research, I changed my number. So you guys got to hear what it is. This is undrafted rookie free agents, but I'm going to have to define that term. It's going to be an over/under of 0.5. Are the Steelers going to keep any? And here is why. Specifically, rookie free agents, meaning coming out of college. The Steelers do keep undrafted free agents, but it's usually after a year or so on the practice squad. I was really, really surprised. Now, last year, technically, the Steelers kept 2. They kept Matthew Thomas, and they kept Ola Adenahe. I'll mess it up. I'll pull Lance Williams and totally butcher that name. Ola. Okay, we'll just go with Ola. Technically, he made the initial 53-man roster only for a day in order to go on IR, where they then brought him back. So technically he counts because he made the initial 53-man. So that was 2 they had last year. 2017, it was none. yes, they had Mike Hilton, but he was not coming right out of college where he would have been quote unquote a rookie. He spent a year bouncing around, finished the year on the Steelers practice squad. The year before, they had none, even though it was BJ Finney. He had spent a year on the practice squad. In 2015, they had one. It was Tyler Murphy. He made the 53-man roster, but he didn't stick the whole year. The Steelers have not had somebody stick on the roster that was an undrafted rookie that came right on the roster that stuck the whole season since 2012. And that was Robert Golden.
Well, what about BJ Finney? He was undrafted,
but he spent a year on the practice squad first.
Did he? What about
Yes.
now? I know this is before that, but Ramon Foster, did
Uh,
he spend a year on the practice squad?
I didn't go back. I went back to 2012. That's
He did not.
because I went, but no, I'm pretty certain that the Big Ragu was straight on the 53.
Yep.
That's what I thought too. Okay.
But I was telling you, just for this exercise, I stopped at 2012. See, even in 2013, Terrence Garvin made the team, but technically he didn't make the initial 53-man roster. He was cut, put on the practice squad for a day or whatever until they put Matt Spaeth on IR so he could come back, and then he was signed to the 53. So they've had some scenarios like that where guys have been around, but they were either I like how they did it last year. They were smart. You remember who was cut and then re-signed so they could put Adenahe on, or sorry, I'm messing it up, Ola on the 53? Anyone remember who that was? Someone Jeff would like to forget.
Landry.
Well, no, he was
cut
and
didn't come back. But so who did they cut and then bring back? They were smart because they did it with a vested veteran, so that way he couldn't be claimed off waivers.
Steven Johnson?
That wasn't last year. That was the year before.
I don't know.
Or 2 years before. It was Nat Burhay.
Oh, good Lord. They should have just cut him and left him be.
Yeah, so he was, remember, he was cut, and they kept Ola on the 53, and then they moved him to the IR. They signed Burhay back. The fact that they did this with Garvin back in 2013, they were pretty lucky that he cleared waivers, but he was a guy that, remember, he was a tryout guy. He wasn't even signed before rookie minicamp. So the most that they had 3 in 2012, 1 in 2015, and 2 in 2018. So they had more years of none than any. So for 2019, I buried you with the numbers. Do you think the Steelers are going to keep any undrafted free agents right off the bat on the 53-man roster?
So you said the line, the over-under line was
0.5. So it's either going to be 0 or 1 or more.
I'm going to take the over because I think that either PJ Locke or Askew Henry from West Virginia, both are at a position of need in terms of safety and special teams guys. I like both of them. I think one of those two makes the 53. So I'm going to say over. I think 1. Brian, what do you think?
I'm saying over as well. I agree with those two safeties. One of them should make it. Because of the depth of the defensive line, a guy like Chris Nelson from Texas could definitely make this team over a guy like the Shade Tree, Daniel McCutcheon, even though he signed to 2020. Say the Shade Tree?
No, McCullers, not McCutcheon.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry.
Is that Andrew McCutcheon's brother?
Yeah, it's baseball reasons.
Hey, you know what? I recognize that. I need to go back and check my article that I just wrote because I might have called him McCutcheon. I better check that out. In fact, editor, it's probably running tomorrow. Jeff, do your job. Check that out for me.
I will.
So, Matthew, you're right. We just talked about him. He's got an opportunity to come in. Here's another guy that it's probably less likely, but I love Tuzar Skipper from the University of Toledo. He would have to beat out his old Rocket teammate Ola Adenyi. I believe it's Adenyi, Dave. Let's try that together. Adenyi.
Adenyi.
But Skipper's a monster, and he has an ability to find the quarterback. But speaking of quarterbacks, I am not ruling out that that Devlin Hodges is just a camp body. I really think that this guy, the all-time leader in FCS passing and just a fantastic player in FCS, could come in and get that number 3 job from a guy like Josh Dobbs. I really love what I see from Hodges, just from his career in college and what he can do. So the answer, a long-winded, over.
Okay. I want to say this. that was a good one. I do believe that the Steelers would not cut Joshua Dobbs much like they did Landry Jones. I think that would have to be a trade situation before they were going to move on there. I could see them trying to stash another quarterback on the practice squad as a possibility, which I'm going to do a quick follow-up question to this one before I go to the next one. Give me a number. I've already got mine. Now, undrafted rookie free agents. Now, this is the rookie. This isn't the AAF guys or anything like that. Undrafted rookie free agents that the Steelers currently have that you think will make the Steelers practice squad.
Say that again.
How many of the undrafted rookie free agents?
Is that what we just did?
No, we did the 53.
Okay.
How many of them? How many? Give me a number of what do you think will make the practice squad?
Is this an over/under?
No, just give me a number of what you think. I'll tell you mine. I'm going with 5.
I was going to say 4.
5. I'm going to say I think 5 of those guys that they signed, and after minicamp or after rookie minicamp, any of the rookies that weren't drafted, I think 5 of them can make the 11 spots on the practice squad. Jeff,
I'll even say 6.
Okay.
But the weird thing about this, fellas, is the fact that last year we had a good bit signed to the practice squad.
Yeah.
But in past years, you have seen a complete turnaround from guys that were undrafted and brought in, went through the entire camp, and then the entire practice squad was made up of nobody you knew. And I think back to 2015,
guys from other teams,
I believe, with Fitz Toussaint coming in, and all those guys coming in, and everybody else was gone. In fact, they just said, "Wait, we're signing these guys. See ya. Smell you later."
When you go 0-4 in the preseason, that makes you not want to keep some of those guys. So, it all depends on how they perform. Great job for the Steelers. If guys are not performing in the preseason, doesn't mean that that's who you have to pick your practice squad guys from. Find them from any place. I like that. So I have some stuff coming out where people would ask me exactly what makes up the practice squad. That should be coming out sometime when I finally give it to Jeff. Here's question number 2. Since we're doing Zach Gentry tonight, here's your over-under of 5 number of touchdowns by tight ends on the Steelers in 2019. The reason I came with the number 5, last year the Steelers had 6 because McDonald had 4 and James had 2, and Xavier Grimble was 3 inches shy, and a loss. Believe it or not, Vance McDonald's 4 touchdowns, that's tied for 11th all-time in Steeler histories of touchdowns in a season by a tight end. Do you know what the number 1 is? You could probably guess who it is, who has the most touchdowns as a tight end as a Steeler.
Heath Miller.
Heath Miller. Do you know what the number is?
No.
11. 8.
It's 8. They've never had a double-digit touchdown guy as a tight end. So I'm going to run back some of the numbers here. In 2018, the Steelers had 6 touchdowns by tight ends. In 2017, they had 5. James had 3, McDonald 1, and Grimble 1. In 2016, they also had 5. James 3 and Grimble 2. 2015, they only had 3. 2014, they had 5. 2013, they only had 1 touchdown by a tight end. Heath Miller had 1 touchdown, and that was it. You have to go all the way back to 2012 until they've had more, and that was when they had 10. That was the year that Heath Miller had 8, and then who was it? Pope had 2. So that was it. So as you can see, the Steelers don't always score a ton of touchdowns with their tight end position. So the number's 5, over or under for tight ends for the Steelers in 2019.
I'm going to say over because I think Vance McDonald's going to be more of a focal point in the offense and especially in the red zone. I'll go with over. I think Xavier Grimble will pitch in kind of what Jesse James did last year. I expect a little bit of an uptick in Vance McDonald. I'll take over. What about you, Brian?
At the risk of being overly optimistic, yeah, Lance, I'm talking to you, buddy. What I'm saying here is I'll actually quote Lance on this one. 15 touchdowns. You've got to make up 15 touchdowns. And I agree with Jeff. You just got to make Vance a huge focal point, and that's exactly what they're going to do. I would think he would have a majority of them. I could see him not really getting to double digits, but possibly getting to 7 or 8.
Okay, so then I'm going to buck the trend. I'm going to say under. I think 5 is the right number personally. I think 5.
Well, that would be a push. That's not
Yeah,
under.
I wasn't giving us a push option, so I'll just go flat up under.
So then you can't go 5. That would be 4.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm going under. I said if I had the option, if I had the hook, if it was 5.5, then I'd feel even much better about my under because I think a push is realistic here. That's just kind of what they've done with the tight ends in their system. And honestly, beyond Vance McDonald, I think the tight end is really lacking. It's going to be all about McDonald. I think if they go over, it's because McDonald has them.
Okay.
So that's what I got. So that's our stats for this week.
All right, Brian, you wanted to do a little news segment. You said 30 seconds. I literally am going to set a timer for 30 seconds, and you're having your little fun fact.
All right, here is the fun fact of the week to amaze your friends and family. Marquise Pouncey's real first name is LaShawn. Thank you. Be sure to tip your waiters and waitresses. I'll be here next week.
That was only 9 seconds. Does 10 seconds. You still had 20 seconds. You could have. So what is his LaShawn?
His name is LaShawn Marquise Pouncey.
Huh.
I do not look at this guy and it doesn't scream LaShawn to me. But
what about his brother?
I believe his name is actually Michael, if I'm not mistaken.
Huh. That's weird. Well, there you go. There's your fun fact.
Hey, remember, if you're looking for a conversation starter, just say, hey, Marquise is actually LaShawn? And actually put your hands on your chin like that and just like have a smoking jacket and just look really smart.
All right. Well, after that fun fact, I think it's a good transition into our preview player of the week, and that is none other than 5th round draft pick Zach Gentry. I believe his first name is actually Zach and not LaShawn. So I can't say that with 100% accuracy. So or a straight face, either one. He was a Michigan product. He was drafted as a quarterback. He followed, a lot of people are connecting dots with Heath Miller because Heath Miller was actually brought in as a quarterback for Virginia and then transitioned into a tight end. Everyone has said, look, Heath Miller was a number 1 first-round draft pick. This guy's a 5th-round draft pick. You have not heard much about him at all. Vance McDonald had a couple quotes about him yesterday, which I put in as the headline of my OTA recap. He just basically said that right now he's still learning the offense. He looks like most rookies do. Sometimes like that deer in the headlights type look. I haven't heard much of anything about this guy at all. My question in the headline of this episode, guys, is will Zach Gentry even make an impact in 2019? And that's what I want to know. So let's start with Brian. Will this guy even make an impact? Will we even be talking about him? Not that he's not going to make the team. Will we even be talking about Zach Gentry come September?
You know what? I think this is going to be mostly a redshirt season for Zach Gentry, but really, I'm thinking that this guy is going to surprise you with 1 touchdown. Maybe be lucky to have 100 yards the entire season, and then but this is all going to be the build up to be ready for year number 2. He's going to play sparingly. Remember, young guys, it takes a long time to get that get that rhythm with Ben Roethlisberger, and you have to earn his trust, and you have a lot to do. So, like I said, I think this is going to be a learning year for him. I think he makes the 53. You can't stash this guy on the practice squad, but it's going to take a lot for him to get in there.
What about you, Dave? What are your thoughts on Zach Gentry?
As of right now, the third TE spot's basically handed to him unless the Steelers decide to do something else to make a trade. He's really what there is. It's interesting that he's a 5th round pick because I don't know. I don't really have the numbers to back this up, but it feels like the Steelers like to take flyers on guys in the 5th round that possibly remind them of somebody else. That's exactly what they did with Bryan Allen. He was a 5th round pick, corner out of Utah. Oh, well, he's tall, he's athletic, he's almost like he's almost like a Richard Sherman. Okay, let's see if he can develop into that. Well, we haven't seen that, but he's still sticking with the team. You know, some people see the size and everything of Gentry. Oh, and he was a quarterback when he even came to Michigan. I feel it's a flyer. I feel it's a pure flyer, and we'll see if eventually they hit on one of these. So I don't know enough about. He had 4 college touchdowns, 2 as a junior, 2 as a senior. He did not have very many yards as a receiver in college. But get him on a pro team, get him with the right body type. I mean, how many tight ends do we have in the NFL that were basketball players in college? You know, didn't even play football. So it's a project. So I think Brian's right. He's going to make the 53, but it's more of like a red shirt season.
Yeah, so to answer the question that was posed both in the headline and what I said was, I don't think this guy's going to make an impact in 2019. If they're ever going to run a 3 tight end set, he's probably not even going to be on the field. They'll throw an extra tackle out there before they put Zach Gentry on the field with Vance McDonald and Xavier Grimble. Unless there's an injury, I can see him being a game day inactive every single week. I actually wouldn't be shocked if he gets cut. I don't know. I just feel like he's going to have to show something that isn't out on the market right now that's possibly available, or maybe one of these undrafted free agents, or I don't know. It would be really interesting if Bucky Hodges was still on the team, because he was a guy that a lot of people liked and looked okay, and then they cut him. So I don't know what happened there, but I'm going to say that he does not make an impact. Now, guys, do you have any stats or anything? I know, Dave, you talked about his touchdowns. Do you have anything else you wanted to go over with Gentry?
I know I got to be a professional. I got to unmute myself. Yeah, he had. Well, you know, he came in as a freshman as a quarterback. He didn't even play tight end until he was a junior. And in 9 games, he had 17 catches for 303 yards. And as a senior in 12 games, he had 32 catches for 514 yards, 2 touchdowns each year. So, I mean, not a bad average. He averaged over 16 yards in his career, but for yards per catch. But it's not like he was out there setting the world on fire. But if he was a 6'8" guy setting the world on fire, he wouldn't be drafted in the 5th round.
Right. Bryan, what are your thoughts on Gentry? Do you have anything special?
Yeah, I need to put the cherry on top of the Fact Sunday that Dave served up to us just a little bit ago. So he mentioned the Richard Sherman thing. And when I was thinking about Richard Sherman and Bryan Allen, they were both came in as they were college wide receivers at one point. Then they switched to cornerback, and they were big guys. So that was a very good comparison. And then he went on to say, you know, okay, a tight end that was a quarterback in college. Who else was a quarterback in college? Heath Miller was a quarterback when he first arrived, and then became a tight end. So very interesting right there. So just those comparisons. One more thing about Zach Gentry, just to mention, this has nothing to do with his play, but it's very interesting about the comparison to Heath Miller. And Ben Roethlisberger had asked him to go ahead and switch his number from 83 to 81. So that's in tribute to Miller to like leave that number alone, which I thought was something that I just found out when I was looking up Zach's real first name, which I never got to because I thought that fact was even more interesting. But one more thing that to jump on what Dave said. The fifth round pick. The fifth round pick seems to be a project. And when they brought Jesse James in as a tight end, he was a big guy bringing in. And the word that they used all the time was project back in 2015 when they were talking about the Jesse James selection, that he's raw. He's got a lot that he's going to have to prove here. So that seems to be the same as Zach Gentry. Is he going to make an impact? To answer your question, no, not this year. But I still think he makes the team, though, Jeff.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Unless there's something crazy, I guess I see him making the team. This made me think as you were talking about all the players the Steelers have had that were former quarterbacks that then went to different positions at some point or another. You think about guys like Hines Ward, Antoine Randall L. You mentioned Heath Miller. Who did it best? That's a question. What do you think, Dave? Who did it best? Who transitioned away from quarterback the best?
Cordell Stewart should have stayed away from quarterback.
Well, if you listen to my show, I was talking about how exciting he was when he was Slash.
Yes, I couldn't wait to get home and watch Steeler games. And what was he going to do next?
I know, and then he turned to crap when he was just a quarterback. But I mean, I think about him. But, okay, so let's talk about this for a second. A quick sidebar: Who did it best? Who did it best? A former, or let's say, I want to put Slash in there somehow, but I can't because it's not going to fit the talking point here. So who did it best was a quarterback that transitioned to another position. And we'll throw Heath in there because he was recruited as a quarterback. Because everyone's going to say Hines if I don't throw Heath in there.
Yeah, I still got to say Hines. Really, I mean, the guy started, I believe, 5 games in his last season at Georgia, and he actually started a couple at running back as well. So, I mean, Hines has a borderline Hall of Fame career, so I would say yes to Hines. And to answer the question on Cordell real quick, after I hear Dave's answer and your answer to this, I have a question about Cordell that I'd like to throw out there. So go ahead, Dave.
Dave, who did it best? But see, the thing is, Randall L. still threw the football as a receiver.
I'm going with Randall L. because Randall L. did not go to wide receiver until he went to the NFL.
That's a good point, Dave.
That's why I'm going to pick him, because he was purely quarterback in college and then changed to wide receiver. I'm not saying he was the best player. I'm just saying it was the best transition.
That's a really good point. I'm going to go with Randall L. And I didn't even think about the fact that he transitioned to wide receiver in the NFL, but the fact that he still threw the football. I can't remember a time where Hines Ward threw the ball in the NFL. Can you guys?
I believe he did. That's something that Statman needs to check, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe he has.
If so, it was only once or twice. It wasn't. It wasn't with the frequency of Randall L. Because I mean, heck, Super Bowl 40. That's something someone in the live chat. Ariel said he got us a ring. The bomb to Hines Ward was the best pass of that game, and he wasn't even a quarterback. All right, so let's go to Cordell Stewart now. Bryan, what's your Cordell Stewart question?
By the way, 1995 is one of my favorite all-time Steelers seasons. It did not end with a ring, and we know that, and we can get into all of that. And I remember I did have a best of the rest column at the beginning of the offseason. Who was the best team? They did not make it all the way. I actually thought they would have an opportunity to win the whole thing. Favorite year, and Cordell was a very big part of that. So my question to you fellas is, this is a question that will never be answered, but what is your hunch? If Cordell Stewart remained a wide receiver, would have he been an all-pro and a borderline Hall of Famer in this league?
No, I don't think so. But he would have had Pro Bowls to his name. All-Pro to me is completely different. And all-Pro is the best of the best in the National Football League. When people say I'm a Pro Bowler, like for instance, Juju Smith-Schuster and TJ Watt both say, like, I was a Pro Bowler last year. You were an alternate. someone didn't go, so you went. That's technically not the same in my opinion. All pro, that's not fan voting. That's legit. I do think that he would have had some Pro Bowls under his belt. I'm not sure if I'm going to go as far as saying Hall of Fame and or All Pro. What about you, Dave?
I think he'd had a better career as a receiver. I don't even know that I'd go Pro Bowl, but he would have been electric. It would have. I think.
Yeah, he was so good.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I think he could have been amazing.
Yeah,
he made every time he touched the football, something was going to happen. He was throwing it, he was running it. I mean, catching the ball. What a weapon! It kind of makes you wonder why the heck they tried to just put him into the quarterback spot. I know that's what he wanted, but damn you, Cowher, what the hell were you thinking?
Okay, guys. I don't know
if Hines Ward's passing stats.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I couldn't get any pure passing stats, but I found that on October 26th of 1998 against the Kansas City Chiefs, while the score was 10-6, Hines Ward completed a pass to Cordell Stewart for 17 yards. That's all I've been able to find so far.
I guess what I'm trying to say is for a guy that was a quarterback in college, I always expected them to have Hines potentially throw the ball more, and they just never did it. And then Randall L came in, and he was slinging the rock around, and they had no problem with him throwing the ball. I think back to a great throw that never gets talked about was the throw back to Ben Roethlisberger against Cincinnati in 2005, and then Ben unleashes a bomb down to Bryan.
Cedric Wilson.
Very good. He jumped in front of Hines Ward to catch the balls. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just a quick little sidebar there. So there you have it. Dave, are you okay? Are you still pouring over stats there or what?
I am trying to find any play, but yes, he had an incomplete pass to Plaxico Burress in 2001. He got sacked the same year. I guess he was back to throw and got tackled.
Okay.
So that was 2 attempted pass plays in 2001. That's so I can't get much for
that's
pure
good
passing
enough.
stats.
So they did try. They did try.
Our apologies need to go out to Mrs. Schofield because we've ruined Dave for the rest of the week. This is all he's going to do. He's just going to, there's going to be no family dinners at the Schofield house. There's going to be no nothing because he's like, got to look at Hines Ward. He might even be calling Hines Ward. He might go to Georgia to Hines Ward's house to ask him.
Yeah. Now, in the live chat, Jesse says even Chris Boswell and Antonio Brown both have thrown touchdown passes, which is true. And here's one for you there, guys. Who did Antonio Brown complete his touchdown pass to?
Ooh.
I know this.
What year was this?
This was the Monday Night Football game against the Houston Texans where they scored like, 24 points in 2 minutes or something. It wasn't that much, but it was a high point total in a very short amount of time.
Oh, that was Martavis Bryant, I think.
That's not what I'm thinking.
That was a Thursday night against the Texans.
This is a Monday nighter, I believe.
Monday? Yeah, okay. Maybe you're right.
I'm thinking of the Christmas Day game against the Texans.
Well, no, that wasn't that.
Wasn't that one?
J.J. Watt actually played in this game.
Okay.
Lance Moore.
2013, yeah.
Lance Moore with his pink socks.
No,
I remember.
14, sorry.
Okay, well, it's still the same receiver. All right, so guys, here's the thing. We wanted to keep this episode a little bit shorter than normal, so we're going to go straight into our either-or segment. Is there anything else for the good of the order that you guys wanted to talk about before we get into the fun stuff? Anyone? Bueller?
Well, I thought fun fact was really fun, but okay.
LaShawn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not allowed to talk about Snoop Dogg and his comment this week.
Well, it's James Michael Pouncey.
Yeah. Okay.
Someone else put that in the live chat, and after I've looked it up too.
I guess you before we went on the air, Bryan said, "Let's talk about Snoop Dogg's thoughts."
No, I just said that was news.
But is it really?
No,
I love his music, especially back in the '90s. But does his opinion matter more than the three of ours right here?
No,
it's just
it's just a chance for me to go ahead and pimp out one of my columns about celebrity Steeler fans. So that's coming to the site near you. And that's all I wanted to do. So I just wanted to mention Calvin Broadus Jr. on the show, and I
Okay.
did.
All right. So, Dave, do you have an either or for us tonight, or were you skipping out on that?
I offered to skip out, but I mean, I have one if you would, if
Go
we all
for it.
want to
Go
do it.
for
Now
it.
we
Okay.
want it. We want it.
This is really simple. In reference to my activities earlier this week, if you're going on a family vacation, are you going and you have the choice just between the two, not a combination? Are you doing amusement park or water park?
Oh.
They're both glorious.
They're both very similar because, yeah, I feel like a water park is also an amusement park. You were down in Virginia, right? You were down in Williamsburg, so
Yes,
you
I
would have had
was,
Water Country USA as well as Busch Gardens.
and I didn't either.
Neither.
Yeah,
Oh, your kids have never been to Busch Gardens?
no.
Oh, it's great. That's a great place. I love that place.
Christmas time too.
I've never been there for Christmas. I've been there for
Great.
Halloween.
It's nice.
The Halloween's good if you like getting scared. That's good. Which I don't, but I went. Anyways, I'm gonna go with am I taking my kids?
Yes.
Oh gosh, I'm taking my kids. That's a nightmare. I don't want to go to either. Let's let's I'll go water park because there's a potential that I could coax all 5 of my hooligans to get on a raft on the lazy river and just be quiet and just not be able to go anywhere for about 10 minutes. So I'll take the lazy river and the water park. What about you, Brian?
Hooligans, they're model children. I've met these people. In fact, I'd like them to teach my kids like a class. But you know what? I'd probably say amusement park. I love a good water park, but a lot of amusement parks have supplementary water parks. But one that I would like to mention that is a lot of fun is Massanutten. It's very close to James
Yes.
Madison University,
Been
and
there.
that's a great water park.
Mm-hmm. I haven't been to the water park, but I've been down the Massanutten, the resort. It's a great place. Yeah.
I've been to both.
Yeah. So what about you, Dave?
Even though I just spent 3 days at a water park, I think I'm going to go amusement park. I mean, I like the water park stuff, but for example, when I take my kids to Disney, we don't do the water parks. We just do the amusement parks when we're there because we're like, we can do water parks other time. But even though I had a good time the last few days at the water park, but overall it's amusement park.
If you go to Busch Gardens, you gotta ride the ride called the Griffin. And what it does is it takes you to the crest of the hill and you're literally facing straight down and it stops and it pauses for like 3 whole seconds and then all of a sudden it releases. You go straight down, 90-degree drop, 100 plus feet into a bunch of it's nuts. Great ride, super smooth.
See, I have to be very careful whether it's water park or amusement park. I got to go to the right place because I don't fit in most of the stuff because I'm too tall, I'm too large. It's funny, even though I am a big guy, a lot of times it has a lot to do with
That's
with
true. I never thought about
with
that.
my height and specifically a lot of times the length of my femur because I cannot fit this way in a seat.
Yeah.
But Disney World, everything there is made for big people, with the exception of the what's the one new Pandora ride? I could not do it, but that was because I have a compressed disc in my back. I couldn't take the pressure on my back. But other than that, I can do everything at Disney. That's why I like that as an amusement park. But I got to be careful places. I can't do it all. And water parks, I have to be very careful riding with my children on water rides because a lot of stuff when you have the added weight, you can go much faster. And we have flipped many times because of they don't want to ride with dad because dad makes it flip over. So yeah.
You probably look like Clark Griswold going down the hill in his saucer on Christmas vacation. Just
Yeah, but I remember one of the times I went I went snow tubing with I used to when I one of the clubs that I was the advisor for when I was teaching high school, we went snow tubing, and I even had some friends that came as advisors, as chaperones, and everyone wanted to ride in the group with me because I would just make it fly. And I mean, people were just stopping, and I was burying into the wall at the end. There was one time the helpers are coming over to pull us out, and they're like, "There's another person in there." They just keep pulling them out because everyone would ride with me because it went so much faster.
So, well, it's crazy that you had that either or, Dave, because my either or was shockingly similar, and I hadn't talked to Dave about what his was or anything. I was literally cutting grass today, and I was like, I know what I'm going to ask for the either or, and I feel like everyone falls into one of these two categories. I'm curious where you all lie, and that is if you get to choose vacation, do you choose the mountains or do you choose the beach? Now, when I say the mountains, that could be anything. That could be like camping. That could be a resort that is, you're basically staying away from the beach, is what I'm saying. So you're either beach or non-beach if you get to choose your vacation. Let's start with Bryan.
I'm choosing an amusement park over both of them, really, because that's just how I roll.
So you're non-beach if you had a choice.
Yeah, well, my wife loves the beach, and I try to do that for her. But after a while, I get all sandy. I'd rather be by a pool than the beach. So maybe I guess I would go mountains. And I know our next vacation is going to be Tennessee in the mountains to go to like Dollywood, and I just told my wife when she said she wants to go to Dollywood, I'm like, all right, it's a week of boob jokes. You're going to get them. I mean, and she's like, yes, I know. But I mean, the hotel we're going to be at has like a lazy creek with a raft that you could just hang out in. And so
lazy creek.
That's very mountainous. Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's the way she explained it to me. And you put lazy in front of anything for me. I mean, I'm like, I'm in. If you're like, hey, we're gonna bake, I've got a lazy Susan. I'm like, I'm in. So I mean, so there you go.
Have a lazy.
So I guess it's a lazy creek.
A lazy river. We have a lazy creek.
I'll do our show from the lazy creek.
All right, Dave. What about you?
Okay, how do I follow that one?
It's a simple answer.
No, growing up and everything, it was always more of a beach thing. Like I said, I grew up the Deep Creek Lake area out in Western Maryland, and we actually had a cabin on the lake. So to me, that was water. So we were always water people. Going to the beach was a lot of fun, boogie board and all that stuff. But now that I'm getting older, it's not quite as enjoyable as much, but it is something where my kids can be distracted by the ocean, so I can get a little bit of relaxation. I'm afraid if I went up into a cabin in the mountains with them, that they would drive me crazy because I don't know what I would have for them to do. But if I could go on a vacation by myself right now, I am going to a cabin in the mountains in the woods in the middle of nowhere.
I'm a beach guy. I've been a beach guy my whole life. My parents asked my brother and I multiple times. We would go on vacation every other year. And they'd say, guys, do you want to go to Disneyland or Disney World or whatever place is, or do you want to go to the beach? And my brother and I never hesitated. Beach, beach, beach. Never been there. Never been to Disney World, never been to whatever. Have no plans to. We have 5 kids, can't afford to go anymore. Our neighbors down the street told us how much they have 3 kids, how much it's going to cost them to go this summer. That's not happening. But the beach, I love the beach. We're going to the beach this summer. I want to move to the beach. I already know where I want to move in South Carolina. I want to be within a walking distance of the beach. I love everything about the beach. That's where I want to be. I love the ocean. I love being around it. I love it. So that's where I'm going to go. You'll see me on a beach somewhere. Maybe BTSC headquarters will be moving there sooner than later if I win the lottery. There you go.
Hey, Dave, can you picture one Jeffrey Hartman at the beach with bronzer and like a Borat fat thong? I could see him just like, yeah.
The thing is with Jeff is he's too much of a health guy, fitness guy that he could like pull off the beach. Me, I'm like beached whale rolling in the surf. I have to wear a swim shirt because it would take an entire bottle of sunblock in order to cover me. So yeah, but I still love it. I do. It's just I have to go to the fat beach.
Well, my love for the beach has nothing to do with my body fat percentage or anything like that. It's just the fact that I love the beach. Period. Always have. But anyways, Brian, go ahead, finish it up here with your either or.
Well, ironically, guys, had a beach question. No, I didn't. I mean, but I was thinking, hey, should I say nude beach? No nude beach, but I know your answer, so it wouldn't be fun. Jeff's like, yeah, nude beach, and like
Yeah,
Dave's like,
sure,
no. But I would do the nude beach. I would have no problem with it. My wife would never do it. But anyways, so I've got a new fascination, and it actually kind of hooks into an old fascination. But with Game of Thrones gone, I'm completely done with Game of Thrones. Now I'm on to my new sensation, Cobra Kai on Amazon Prime. Not Amazon Prime, YouTube Premium. And this is a throwback to the Karate Kid movies. In the 1984 classic Karate Kid. Then came Karate Kid 2 in 86, then 89's dreadful Karate Kid 3, and 94's even more remarkably dreadful with Hilary Swank, the next Karate Kid. But what's so cool about this is they brought back almost everybody, and the lines are blurred between good and bad. Now you have Johnny Lawrence from Cobra Kai, who is more of a sympathetic figure than Daniel LaRusso ever was. And it's just really great to watch the chemistry between these guys, watch them bring back all these guys from the past. And if you're a fan of the Karate Kid, you would absolutely love this show. So my question to you, and it might come down to just your personality, who would you rather be trained in the art of karate by? Would you rather be trained by one Mr. Miyagi? Or would you go Cobra Kai, Never Die, and Sensei John Kreese?
Okay, you go, Dave.
Jeff, I think we lost Jeff. You know, according to there's someone in the live chat, Jeff needs to go back to hosting Blues Clues.
Yeah, I don't know where that even came from. Someone said
you do look like Steve.
Someone said it was a compliment. I'm like, how is that a compliment? Blues Clues? Are you serious?
It was a guy that hosted Blues Clues, and then he quit because he was balding, and he didn't want the little kids to see him go bald.
Is that real?
That's real.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
True.
Yeah,
I know Blues Clues is real, but he quit because he was going bald.
Yeah, I don't know if he quit or they forced him out, or I don't know. Okay, that just went from not being funny to being sad. Let's go. It's been so long since I watched the original Karate Kids, but yeah, how do you not say Mr. Miyagi? You know, just it seems more fun, more of a personal connection, not more about the glory of the sensei, more about him teaching his knowledge. So we'll go there.
I'm going to go with Mr. Miyagi because I've never liked cheaters. I've never liked people that play dirty. I'm okay with losing. I don't like losing if someone cheats to do it. So that's for me. I'm going to go with the straight up, no nonsense Mr. Miyagi.
Well, first of all, to help you out with this whole thing, this is the same as one of my either ors way back when it was, would you rather have your kid coached by Mike Krzyzewski or Bobby Knight? That's basically along the same lines of this. And I'm just going to tell you, fellas, I'm not painting any old man's fence for free. I'm not sanding his floors. I'm not waxing on. I'm not waxing off. I'm not doing any of that. And you know what? If this guy's saying you're gonna learn it tough, I'm going with Sensei John Kreese. Cobra Kai, Never Die, No Mercy.
Well then,
Did anyone notice that Bryan was able to sneak in both nude beach and wax off in the same either or?
I know Bryan well enough that I am not surprised by that at all.
It wasn't even planned.
And anyone that's ever read his random thoughts of the Black and Gold Mind articles should not be surprised either. So, all right, that's a good show. Next week, we will be back for another Steelers preview where we'll move into the 6th round, 3 picks. And oh my gosh, talk about must-listen podcasts, must-watch YouTube. We're going to be talking about everyone's camp darling, and we haven't even gotten to camp yet. Sutton Smith. Oh, Sutton Smith. You just say Sutton Smith around a Steeler fan and they start getting all giddy and
It's
their
dreamy.
Oh, it is so dreamy.
Yeah.
You know, they have a thing for those Caucasian linebackers. I'm sorry. It's incredible. But anyways, with that said, that's a great way to end the show. We will see you next week for another episode of the Steelers preview.